You know, there's something profoundly beautiful about understanding that worry is simply a misuse of your imagination. Right now, in this very moment, you have a choice. You can either trust in the infinite intelligence that created everything, or you can spend your precious energy worrying about things that may never happen. And here's what I've learned through years of study and personal experience. Worry has never once solved a problem, not once. But trust, genuine trust in something greater than yourself, has moved mountains in the lives of countless people throughout history. When you wake up in the morning, the first thoughts you think are the most important thoughts of your entire day. They set the tone for everything that follows. And if those first thoughts are filled with worry, anxiety, and fear about what might go wrong, you're essentially programming yourself for a day of struggle. But what if you could reprogram that? What if you could wake up and immediately connect with that source of infinite love and wisdom that many call God, that some call the universe, that others call higher consciousness? The name doesn't matter nearly as much as the connection itself. Let me tell you something that changed my life completely. I used to be one of the biggest worriers you'd ever meet. I worried about money. I worried about my career. I worried about what people thought of me. I worried about my health, my relationships, my future. I was a professional worrier. And you know what all that worry got me? Absolutely nothing except sleepless nights, tension, headaches, and a constant knot in my stomach. It didn't change a single outcome. It didn't make anything better. All it did was steal my peace and rob me of the joy of living in the present moment. Then one day, I had this realization that completely transformed everything. I realized that worry is actually arrogant. Yes, you heard me right. Worry is a form of arrogance, because when you worry, you're essentially saying that you know better than the creative intelligence of the universe. You're saying that your limited human perspective should override the infinite wisdom that orchestrates galaxies, that turns acorns into oak trees, that heals cuts on your skin without you even thinking about it. When you really look at it that way, worry seems kind of foolish, doesn't it? Now, I'm not suggesting that you become irresponsible or that you stop planning for the future. That's not what trust is about. Trust is about doing what you can do, taking the action that's in front of you to take, and then releasing the outcome to that higher power. It's about understanding that you're not in this alone. There's a force in this universe that wants you to succeed, that wants you to be happy, that wants you to fulfill your purpose. But you have to get out of your own way and let it work through you. Every single morning presents you with a fresh opportunity to align yourself with this force. Before you check your phone, before you start thinking about all your problems, before you let the world in with all its noise and chaos, you have this sacred space of time where you can connect with something greater. This is when you can pray. Not the kind of prayer where you're begging for things, but the kind of prayer that's really a conversation with the divine presence within you and all around you. What does it mean to trust God more? It means understanding that there's an intelligence in the universe that's far greater than your ego mind. Your ego is that part of you that's always worried about survival, about looking good, about being right, about having control. Your ego is necessary for functioning in the world, but it's a terrible master. When you let your ego run your life, you'll always be worried, because the ego doesn't trust anything except itself, and it knows how limited it really is. But there's another part of you, a deeper part, that knows you're connected to something infinite. Some people call this your soul, your true self, your higher self. This part of you has no doubt about your worthiness, no fear about the future, no anxiety about what others think. This is the part of you that's always at peace because it knows it's one with the source of all creation. When you learn to live from this place, worry becomes impossible. Let me share something practical with you. When you wake up tomorrow morning, before your feet even hit the floor, take a few moments to just breathe. Don't reach for your phone. Don't start making your to-do list. Just breathe and become aware of the fact that you're alive. You made it through another night. Your heart kept beating, your lungs kept breathing, your body kept doing its miraculous work, all without any effort from you. That alone is worth being grateful for. Then, in that quiet space, acknowledge the presence of something greater. You might say something like, "Good morning, God. I'm here, and I know you're here with me. I trust that this day will unfold perfectly, and I'm ready to be guided by your wisdom rather than my worry." It doesn't have to be those exact words. Make it your own. Make it genuine. The important thing is that you're setting an intention to trust rather than to worry. Here's what happens when you do this consistently. Your whole energy shifts. Instead of starting your day from a place of lack and fear, you're starting from a place of abundance and trust. And what you focus on expands. When you focus on trust, you start to notice evidence all around you that the universe is supporting you. When you focus on worry, you start to notice everything that could possibly go wrong. Same world, different lens. I've watched people transform their entire lives by making this one simple shift. I knew a woman once who worried constantly about money. She worried about losing her job. She worried about not having enough for retirement. She worried about unexpected expenses. And guess what? Her worry actually created more financial problems. Why? Because she was so stressed that she couldn't think clearly. She made poor decisions. She was so focused on lack that she couldn't see opportunities right in front of her. She was operating from fear, and fear always contracts, never expands. Then she started a morning practice of trusting God with her finances. Every morning, she would thank the universe for the money she had, for the roof over her head, for the food in her refrigerator. She would affirm that she was taken care of, that opportunities were always flowing to her, that she was connected to an infinite source of abundance. And she made a commitment to catch herself whenever she started worrying about money and immediately shift back to trust. Within 6 months, her entire financial situation had changed. She got a promotion at work that she hadn't even applied for. Someone paid back a loan she'd written off years ago. She found a side gig that brought in extra income with hardly any effort. But more than the external changes, her internal state was completely different. She was at peace. She knew that no matter what happened, she would be okay because she wasn't relying on her own limited power anymore. She was plugged into something infinite. That's the power of trust over worry. And it's available to every single one of us, regardless of our circumstances. You don't have to have a perfect life to trust. In fact, it's often when life is most challenging that trust becomes most important. When everything is going well, it's easy to feel good. But real trust is tested when things aren't going the way you planned, when you're facing obstacles, when you can't see the way forward. That's when you have to dig deeper and remember that there's a bigger picture you can't always see. Think about it this way. When you were a child, if you were lucky enough to have parents or caregivers who loved you, you didn't worry about whether there would be food on the table. You didn't worry about whether the house payment would get made. You didn't worry about any of those things because you trusted that the adults in your life would take care of you. And most of the time, they did. Even if resources were tight, somehow things worked out. Now, as an adult, you have the opportunity to have that same kind of trust in the universe. Not a childish trust where you're irresponsible and expect everything to be handed to you, but a mature trust where you know you're part of a larger system that's designed to support you. You do your part, you take inspired action, you use your gifts and talents, but you don't carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. You share that weight with the divine. Every time you worry, you're essentially saying, I don't trust you, God. I don't believe you've got this handled. I think I need to figure it all out myself. And the universe in its infinite patience says, okay, if that's what you want, I'll step back and let you try to do it all on your own. But when you trust, when you say, I know I'm not alone in this. I know there's a wisdom far greater than mine at work here. I'm going to do my best and trust that everything will work out as it should. The universe says, great, let me show you what I can do. Miracles happen in the space of trust. I don't mean miracles in the sense of magic tricks or supernatural events, although those can happen too. I mean miracles in the sense of shifts in perception, synchronicities, opportunities appearing at just the right time, solutions to problems that seemed unsolvable. These things happen all the time when you're in a state of trust because you're open to receive them. Worry closes you off. Trust opens you up. Here's another thing about worry that most people don't realize. When you worry, you're living in the future, but it's a future that doesn't exist yet and might never exist. You're creating these elaborate scenarios in your mind about all the terrible things that could happen, and your body responds as if those things are actually happening right now. Your stress hormones spike, your heart rate increases, your muscles tense up. You're literally making yourself sick over things that are completely imaginary. But when you trust, you come back to the present moment, which is the only moment that actually exists. And in the present moment right now, you're okay. Right now, you're breathing. Right now, you have what you need. Even if you're facing challenges, right now, in this very moment, you're handling it. You're here, you're alive, you're aware. That's all you ever need to deal with, this moment right here. One of the most powerful morning prayers you can say is simply, thank you for this day. Help me to trust you more and worry less. Guide my thoughts, my words, and my actions. Let me be an instrument of your peace and love. That's it. You don't need elaborate prayers or fancy words. You just need a genuine desire to connect with that higher power and let it lead you. And then throughout the day, when you feel worry starting to creep in, and it will because we're human, and that's what the mind does, you have a choice. You can either follow that worry down the rabbit hole, or you can catch yourself and say, wait a minute, I don't have to go there. I choose trust instead. And then you take a breath, you remember that morning intention you set, and you redirect your thoughts. This takes practice. Your mind has probably been worrying for years, maybe decades. It's a habit, and like any habit, it takes time and repetition to change. But I promise you, if you commit to this practice of choosing trust over worry, your life will change in ways you can't even conceive of right now. You'll feel lighter. You'll have more energy. You'll sleep better. Your relationships will improve because you won't be projecting your anxiety onto everyone around you. Opportunities will start showing up because you'll be in a receptive state instead of a defensive one. Let me tell you about a man I once knew who was diagnosed with a serious illness. The doctors gave him a grim prognosis, and everyone expected him to fall apart. But instead, he did something remarkable. He made a decision that no matter what happened with his health, he was going to trust that it was all part of his journey and that he would be taken care of. Every morning, he would pray and hand his health over to God. He would say, this body is yours. This life is yours. I trust you with it completely. Now, I'm not going to tell you that he was miraculously healed overnight, although I've seen that happen too. What I will tell you is that he had the most peaceful, joyful final years of his life. He wasn't consumed by fear and worry. He wasn't bitter or angry. He was present with his family. He was grateful for each day. He found meaning in his experience. And when he eventually passed, he did so with a sense of completion and peace that touched everyone who knew him. That's the power of trust. It doesn't always change your circumstances, although it often does, but it always changes your experience of your circumstances. And ultimately, that's what matters most. You can have everything go right in your life and still be miserable if you're living in a state of worry. Or you can face significant challenges and still be at peace if you're living in a state of trust. God, the universe, whatever you want to call that infinite intelligence, is not separate from you. It's not some old man sitting on a cloud judging you. It's the very essence of who you are. It's the life force that animates you. It's the consciousness that's reading these words right now. When you trust God, you're really trusting your true self, the eternal part of you that's never been born and will never die, the part of you that's connected to everything and everyone. Every morning is a chance to remember this truth. You're not a limited, separate, vulnerable being struggling to survive in a hostile world. You're an infinite spiritual being having a temporary human experience. You're here for a reason, and that reason is not to worry. It's to love, to grow, to create, to contribute, to experience the fullness of life in all its colors and textures. When you really get this, when you really understand that you're always being guided and supported, worry becomes absurd. It's like being afraid that the sun won't rise tomorrow. The sun has risen every single day of your life without you worrying about it. It doesn't need your worry to function. Neither does the rest of the universe. It's all being orchestrated by an intelligence that's infinitely smarter than your rational mind could ever be. Your job is not to figure everything out. Your job is not to control every outcome. Your job is not to make sure nothing bad ever happens. Your job is simply to show up, to be present, to do the next right thing in front of you, and to trust that the bigger picture is being taken care of. That's it. That's really all that's required of you. And when you do this, when you really commit to trusting more and worrying less, you'll find that life becomes so much easier. Not because your challenges disappear, but because you're not fighting against them anymore. You're flowing with them. You're seeing them as opportunities for growth rather than threats to your security. You're meeting each moment with curiosity and openness rather than fear and resistance. There's a famous prayer that goes, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. This is really a prayer about trust. Accepting what you can't change requires trust that it's supposed to be that way, at least for now. Changing what you can requires trust that you have the power to make a difference. And knowing the difference requires trust in your inner guidance. Most of what we worry about falls into the category of things we can't change. We can't change the past, no matter how much we replay it in our minds. We can't control what other people think or do, no matter how much we try to manage their perceptions. We can't predict or prevent every possible future problem, no matter how much we strategize and plan. So why waste your energy on these things? Why not redirect that energy toward what you can actually influence, which is your own thoughts, your own choices, your own actions, and your own attitude? When you start your day with a prayer of trust, you're setting yourself up to focus on what matters. You're giving yourself permission to let go of what doesn't serve you. You're aligning yourself with a power that's greater than your problems. And from that aligned place, you can handle whatever comes your way with grace and confidence. I want you to consider this. What if everything that's happening in your life right now, even the challenging stuff, even the stuff you've been worrying about, what if it's all exactly what needs to be happening for your highest good? What if there are no mistakes, no accidents, no wrong turns? What if it's all part of a perfect plan that you can't fully see yet, but that's unfolding exactly as it should? This doesn't mean you become passive or that you don't take action to improve your situation. It means you take that action from a place of trust rather than fear. You do what you can do, and then you release the outcome. You plant the seeds, you water them, you give them sunlight, but you don't dig them up every day to see if they're growing. You trust that nature knows what it's doing. The same principle applies to your life. You set your intentions, you take inspired action, you use your gifts and talents, but you don't obsess over results. You don't worry about whether it's all going to work out. You know it's going to work out because you're connected to an infinite source of creativity and possibility. Maybe it won't work out the way you planned. Maybe it'll work out even better than you imagined, but it will work out. Every great spiritual teacher throughout history has taught some version of this message. Trust, faith, surrender, letting go, these aren't signs of weakness. They're signs of profound strength. It takes courage to trust. It's much easier to worry because worry gives you the illusion of control. It makes you feel like you're doing something about your problems. But you're not. You're just making yourself miserable. Real trust, on the other hand, requires you to release control, to admit that you don't have all the answers, to acknowledge that you're not running the show. And that can be scary for the ego. The ego wants to be in charge. It wants to believe it can protect you from harm if it just worries enough, plans enough, controls enough. But the ego is limited. It only knows what it's experienced before. It can't access the infinite intelligence that's available to you when you trust. So here's what I'm inviting you to do, starting tomorrow morning. Before you do anything else, take 5 minutes to connect with that higher power. It doesn't matter if you call it God, the universe, spirit, source energy, or anything else. What matters is that you acknowledge there's something greater than your limited self at work in your life. Thank it for another day. Ask it to guide you. Express your willingness to trust instead of worry. And then, throughout the day, notice when worry comes up. Don't judge yourself for it. Don't try to suppress it. Just notice it. And when you notice it, say to yourself, there's that worry again. But I don't have to listen to it. I choose trust instead. And then redirect your thoughts to something you're grateful for, something you appreciate, something that reminds you that you're supported. Do this consistently, day after day, and watch what happens. You'll start to see evidence everywhere that you're being taken care of. You'll notice little synchronicities, helpful people showing up at just the right time, solutions appearing when you need them. And even when things don't go the way you hoped, you'll find that you're able to handle it with much more ease and grace than you would have before. This is the power of starting your day with a blessed morning prayer of trust. It changes everything, not because it magically makes all your problems disappear, but because it changes you. It shifts your consciousness from fear to faith, from anxiety to peace, from struggle to flow. And when you change on the inside, your outer world has no choice but to reflect that change back to you. You are so much more powerful than you realize. You are so much more loved and supported than you know. You are connected to an infinite source of wisdom, creativity, and abundance. But you have to claim that connection. You have to choose it. Every single morning is an opportunity to make that choice. Will you choose trust or will you choose worry? Will you choose faith or will you choose fear? Will you choose to align with the infinite or will you try to go it alone? The answer seems obvious when you put it that way, doesn't it? But actually making that choice in the moment, when you're feeling anxious or scared or uncertain, that takes commitment. That takes practice. That takes a willingness to go against the grain of what your conditioned mind wants to do. Your mind has been trained to worry. Society has taught you to worry. The news media profits from your worry. Fear is everywhere, constantly trying to pull you down into its clutches. But you don't have to succumb to it. You have a choice. And the more you exercise that choice, the stronger your trust muscle becomes. Eventually, trust becomes your default setting instead of worry. Eventually, you automatically turn to that higher power instead of trying to figure everything out yourself. Eventually, you realize that you haven't worried about anything in days or weeks because you've been too busy trusting, too busy being grateful, too busy living in the present moment. That's the life that's available to you. That's the peace that passes all understanding. That's the abundant life that every spiritual tradition talks about. And it all starts with a simple morning prayer, a simple decision to trust God more and worry less. You know, there's a beautiful paradox in all of this. When you stop worrying about everything, when you release your death grip on trying to control your life, that's when things actually start to go better. It's like when you're trying to remember someone's name and you can't get it, but as soon as you stop trying, it pops into your head. Or when you're looking for something and you tear apart the house trying to find it, but it doesn't appear until you give up and relax. Life works the same way. The more you chase and worry and struggle, the more it eludes you. But when you relax into trust, when you allow life to unfold, when you cooperate with the universe instead of fighting against it, everything starts to flow. Opportunities come, answers arrive, resources appear. Not because you worried them into existence, but because you trusted them into existence. This is what it means to live by faith. Not blind faith that ignores reality, but eyes wide open faith that sees reality clearly and chooses to trust anyway. It's knowing that even when you can't see the path ahead, even when you don't know how things are going to work out, you're still going to be okay because you're never walking alone. There's always a hand to hold, a voice to guide, a presence to comfort. You just have to be quiet enough to sense it, open enough to receive it, trusting enough to follow it. And here's the beautiful thing. The more you trust, the more trustworthy you become. When you're not consumed by your own worries, you have the capacity to be there for others. When you're not drowning in anxiety, you can throw a lifeline to someone else who's struggling. When you're not caught up in your own drama, you can be a source of peace and stability for those around you. Your trust becomes contagious. People feel it in your presence. They want what you have. And what you have is available to everyone because it's not something you have to earn or achieve. It's something you simply have to remember and return to. So as you go forward from here, as you face whatever challenges and opportunities lie ahead, remember this. You are not alone. You are not separate. You are not powerless. You are a beloved child of the universe, created in love, sustained by love, surrounded by love. All you have to do is trust it. All you have to do is open yourself to it. All you have to do is start each day acknowledging it, thanking it, aligning with it. Trust God more and worry less. It's not just a nice idea. It's a way of life. It's a path to peace. It's a doorway to miracles. And it's available to you right now, in this very moment, with your very next breath. Choose trust. Choose faith. Choose love. Choose to remember who you really are and whose you really are. And watch as your life transforms in ways more wonderful than anything you could have worried about or planned for. This is your blessed morning prayer, lived out in each moment of your day. This is your connection to the divine, expressed through your trust and your peace. This is your gift to yourself and to the world. Trust more, worry less, and let the infinite intelligence of the universe work its magic through you, as you, for you. This is the way. This is the truth. This is the life that's waiting for you when you finally let go and let God.